Hey everyone, it's Tom Seymour from VHS Massacre Radio. Just figured I'd do a little update. I usually do a show every now and then if I have something to talk about. So a few things have happened recently which I think are pretty cool, worth talking about, and hopefully this information can be helpful to any independent filmmaker out there who's looking to do things like hit the festival circuit or find a distributor or even make a movie or finish a movie. So a few things have happened. Film Freeway, which is a very good, it's the main place where you're going to be entering festivals. You can enter direct, and sometimes that's better. There are several things that I enter directly, typically like the Telly Awards or World Fest Houston. I think maybe in San Francisco Indie Fest. Certain things you're going to enter outside of Film Freeway, though even those may have availability on Film Freeway. So I wanted to show you a few things. For those of you watching the video element, on Film Freeway under your dashboard, it'll actually show you what your percentage rates of how many films that you've entered versus how many have been selected, and your acceptance rate, right? So I'm looking at 3 of the movies: Exorcism of Fleet Marish, McLeod, VHS Massacre 1, and then VHS Massacre 2. The Exorcism of Fleet Marish is like a horror movie that I'm putting out. It's a sort of new-ish film. There's new footage, it's a new edit, it's a new aspect ratio, it's black and white. It's more than a director's cut, sort of a different film. So I'm trying my hand at the film festival circuit with it. So I entered 50 festivals. Most of those were free, and I spent Tim Coolig and I, the producer composer, spent less than, and executive producer by the way, spent less than $500. We spent like about $250, $300 a piece, right? And most of the festivals that we entered were free, but we managed to enter 50 festivals. So, we stretched our dollar pretty well. So if you look at the statistics, 50 festivals so far, only 7 selections, 26 pending. That's a 30% selection rate. So believe it or not, that's very good. It's essentially 1 in 3, and that's a good thing to aim for. If you scroll down to McLeod, similar thing. 34 total submissions, 10 selections, 30% rate. It's like, interesting. Scroll down to VHS Massacre 2, 68 total submissions, 24 selections, 1 pending, 37% selection rate. But I can tell you, we entered a number of those festivals outside of Film Freeway, so that number is in the 40s, which is very unusual. If you can get that number where you're getting into like 4 out of 10 festivals, incredible, So that's never happened to me before. So I know I'm kind of bragging, but it's kind of mind-blowing to me. That's pretty good, believe it or not. And then the first VHS match doesn't really count because we only entered 1 festival and we got into it. So 100% selection rate, you can't really count that. So if I'm going to go to the Film Freeway press kit, which you build your own press kit for your film on there, it's actually really good because it kind of forces you to get organized. You make a trailer, you make a poster, you make a summary. So this is some of the awards and selections we got so far. Independent Horror Movie Awards, we won 2 awards there, Best Music, and then Best, there's a Best Atmosphere nomination. Best Horror Movie Atmosphere. Horror Island is very exciting. That's in the Canary Islands, off the coast of Spain. We're nominated for Best Horror Feature, which is amazing. We won a Top Indie Awards, Best Music, International Sound and Film Music Festival, and then Liftoff. Liftoff is a simple one to get into. They play a lot of movies, so Liftoff is a nice one to just kind of submit to and screen there. So in regard to Film Freeway, that's something to think about. If you're entering festivals, you need to enter a lot of them, but there's a lot of free ones. Just know that if you enter 50 and get into 15, then you're doing all right, What's cool too is that sometimes the festivals that you get into or award shows that you get into, and then end up reaping the benefits later. For instance, VHS Massacre 2, which won at the Cult Movie Critic Awards, I guess was automatically entered into the Jean-Luc Godard Awards. And so now, as a director, on VHS Massacre 2, I was nominated for the Jean-Luc Godard Award, which was like a pretty huge deal for me. Particularly like to get a director's nomination, because those things are rarer, harder to get, you know. So if you look on Twitter, I got that, and another cool thing is like Lloyd Kaufman like retweeted me, which was really sweet. You know, so it's stuff like that that keeps me going. And if we look here on the website, let's show some of the nominees. You know, another big thing that happened is VHS Massacre 1 is now streaming on NBC Universal's. Another thing that happened is that VHS Massacre, the original, is screening on NBC Universal's streaming service called Peacock, which is really credible if you think about it. I mean, the idea that I can make like a $500 documentary with Ken Powell and Tim Cooling, and it ends up on Universal Pictures streaming site. It's absolutely crazy. And it almost goes to show you the state of the industry right now, how it's very shaken up, you know. So you can go on there and there's a bunch of trauma movies, which is really interesting. That being said, VHS Massacre 2 is only out on Blu-ray, and but it seems to be continually picking up awards and doing stuff like that. So if you get on a roll, it can be worth it. So if you enter 50 film festivals and you get into some, that you can pay dividends down the road a bit, which is really interesting. In regard to Exorcism of Fleet Marish, there's a lot of the sort of Halloween is coming up, so that we could be screening in several festivals. We don't know yet. Recently, I was tapped to be part of a Q&A at a film convention in January. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it was really cool. So if you're thinking of making an independent film, just know that it's not, there are a lot of avenues to pursue. Like, you might think, okay, if I'm gonna, you know, maybe you find two of your friends, you chip in a few grand a piece, $3,000 a piece. You make a feature-length movie, you can do it. You can shoot it in 2 weeks, it's not a problem. Let's say you do that. You might be thinking, well, where am I going to enter this? How am I going to make an impact? Who will care? Who will notice? Film festival circuit, that's where you want to go. And then from there, if you win some awards, you meet some people, then, you know, maybe you can approach distributors from there or find a producer's rep, stuff like that. If it's a larger film, obviously you're going to be working with a agent and a producer's rep right out of the gate, and they're probably going to control the film and possibly get you into some of the larger festivals like Sundance and Tribeca. But keep in mind, in most cases, you're getting into the festivals because they're corporate festivals. So it's the agent that's getting you in because they're part of the edifice of the studio system, you know. And that's the thing, to not be downtrodden and not feel bad if you enter Sundance cold and don't get in. It's because they barely watch those films that get entered without agents and producers reps. They really don't. I mean, people have done investigations where you know, back when they were submitting on DVD, people would send in blank DVDs and get the same rejection letter, like, your movie was really amazing, but we couldn't take it, you know. So, you know, it can be a racket, but it's a racket in a way you wouldn't think. It's not a racket typically from the smaller festivals. It's a racket typically from the corporate world. So I would keep that in mind. The other thing too is there's always trauma, you know. They're not going to pay you. You're not going to make a lot of money, but you might be able to use that as a springboard to something larger. My VHS Massacre documentaries would not have been as big as they are without trauma. I know, like, John Brennan and some of those dudes who are on doing The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs, those guys were trauma guys. So, and then there's a huge roster: James Gunn, Matt Stone, Trey Parker. There's a lot of people who came out of Trauma, Eli Roth, So anyway, that's an option. Keep Trauma in mind. They're a pretty good distribution company. There's a lot of nostalgia for Trauma movies because people grew up watching them, and they're very colorful and entertaining and crass and lewd and all that, and violent, all that fun stuff that horror aficionados love. So it's worth checking out. Hey guys, just to add something a little extra on the end, I got some really cool news in. So there is this thing called the Sweden Film Awards, which seems like a pretty cool award ceremony and film festival, based out of Stockholm. And recently, Exorcism of Fleet Marish won the Best Experimental Film, which is a huge deal. So big congrats to Debbie Rochon, Dick Bolin, and Tim Kulig and the whole cast and crew. Pretty awesome stuff. More news to come, but that's going well. And then recently I won. I didn't win. I'm nominated for a Jean-Luc Godard Award, and they're going to send something to the House. It's either a nomination trophy or a win trophy. They basically said that, either way you beat out, they're saying we beat out thousands of other films or whatever, or, that I entered. I guess VHS Massacre 2 is what gave me the director's nomination. But, so it's pretty exciting stuff. Directors awards just seem really rare to even, film festivals don't always offer those as a win category. So, the nomination's pretty amazing, just as it is. That's pretty much what I have going on. Obviously Halloween's coming up, so I may do a couple interviews here and there. A few people are reaching out to me to do a few different podcasts. One of my buddies, James Richardson, wants to do a talk for CUNY, about making and releasing films and stuff like that. So we'll have to see what happens with that. My buddy Tim Kulig, who's doing a lot of film composing now, we may do a podcast about actually artificial intelligence and things like that. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, that's really it. That's all I can think of for now. VHS Massacre 2 is still out on Blu-ray. Any Trauma convention, you can buy VHS 1 and 2 there. And then Universal Studios has VHS 1, which is really exciting. And I've been told by the gang, John Ferry and the gang at Trauma, that there should be some interesting news about where VHS Massacre 2 is going to be streaming in the near future, hopefully. So, yeah. All right. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.